Hey guys, Chris here, the RC Geek. Welcome back. Top Gun fans unite. We have a brand new F-14 Tomcat that has just hit the market, available from Freewing. It's a twin 80mm EDF kit, all EPO foam, and you end up with a really nice sized airplane. A while back I got to fly it and I liked it so much that I ended up picking one up. So I thought what I'd do is I'd give you guys a little review, assembly review, putting it together, and then a flight review. You know, if you've never seen the movie Top Gun, it's an iconic movie from the 80s starring Tom Cruise, Val Kilmer, with some iconic 80s music from Kenny Loggins. You know, you got this love story between two Tomcat pilots who love to glisten in the San Diego sun while playing beach volleyball, take long motorcycle rides, and of course fly sweet jets. And at the end of the movie, they profess their undying wingmanship to each other, as you can tell from their power bro hug at the end. Definitely check it out. Total chick flick, but there's some really cool flying. Fun fact, my dad and his company Jet Hanger Hobbies, they actually built the models for the movie Top Gun that were used in the special effects. So let's get started on this F-14. We'll go through, we'll assemble it, and then we'll check back and go through some of the things that potentially run into, so that way you guys have a clear idea of what to expect. Opening the box, I was pretty excited, I have to say. I thought I might have heard the sound of Kenny Loggins in the distance, but turned out I was just gassy. One thing to note, they recommend 4,000 milliamp hour packs for the airplane. In my case here, I wanted more flight time, so I'm actually going to be using 5,800 milliamp hour packs. So I'll show you what I do to get those in. We will have to do a little modification, nothing too serious. And so let's get started. Alright guys, so here's our finished F-14. A couple things to talk about. In terms of the shape, they've really done a good job characterizing the lines of the F-14, and the cross sections are actually quite good. Obviously, you got to take some shortcuts. It is a foam airplane, but that being said, they have done a very good job on the outline. The engineering behind it is quite good as well. They've done a good job of taking what could be a complicated airplane and really simplifying it into a very simple assembly. The landing gear, you've got the nose doors and you've got the aft support strut on the nose, which is really nice. I don't know what the deal is with that trailing link nose strut. That's not real scale, but you know, it doesn't look bad. And then the mains, when they retract, they just retract straight forward. They don't rotate. Again, not a big deal. This is a foam airplane. It's meant to go kick it around the sky, have a good time with it. So don't expect to be winning any Scale Masters competitions or Top Gun or anything like that with it. If you get the pylon kit with it, it'll hide those really nicely in the air. Now, in terms of the fit wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. I've certainly dealt with worse. Placing the rudders, there wasn't really a channel in there for the servo wires, so I ended up drummeling a channel in there so that it was a little bit easier to put it in place. You know, the screws hold it down really hard, really tight. The ailerons, the way they have that set up is pretty nice. So they've got an aluminum rod with a collar on one end, and then you have two screws that hold that rod in place in the fuselage. Make sure that you get that tight so that way there's no slipping, and also you don't want it to slip laterally. The stabs end up having dihedral in them, which is the opposite of scale. The full-size airplane actually has anhedral in the tails, and so I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe they hit mirror on the CAD system prematurely, I don't know. Now the swing wing area is quite well done. You've got two retract units that actually actuate the wings themselves. The rigidity is there, and I thought that it's pretty nice. The overwing fairing hatch, the fit on it, I thought could have been better. Out of all of the fit issues, that one's probably the worst. You end up with a fairly large gap between the wing and that overwing fairing. It doesn't really bother me that much, but I did grind away some of the foam to try and get it to fit a little bit better. I may play with that a little bit more later on, but final assembly, it didn't bother me too much. You got a nice long hatch on the canopy area, which is great for getting batteries in and out. The hatch fit, I thought that could have been maybe a little bit better. I'm using two 6S 5800 milliamp hour packs, and so to do that, I had to hog out some of the foam so that I could push the batteries all the way back to the spar so that I could maintain the CG. Before I glued the nose on, I actually opened that all up and made sure that I could slide the battery in there, and so then I removed the wood tray that they have for the rear battery. You can't use that with the larger pack. I removed that, but took the tie strap out of there, and using a 1/4 inch piece of plywood, epoxied that or embedded that into the floor of the nose, and then with 2 screws, screwed that tie strap down so it holds it securely in place, and then I use that to hold the battery. It's a matter of then also rerouting the wires around the sides of that cavity, because when you take that overwing fairing hatch off, it's a rat's nest in there full of wires and whatnot. You got to be able to slide the battery back and not get those wires in the way. Now, in terms of the control setup, I've done things a little bit differently. The way that they have the airplane set up stock in terms of the control surfaces, you have the ailerons in the back acting as aileron and elevator, and you have an inboard flap surface on the wing and outboard aileron surfaces. Now, with the wings extended, I can tell you that the airplane flies excellent in that configuration, and it works very, very well. However, they do not disable the ailerons when the wings are swept, and that causes some issues. I had a bunch of flights on the pre-production prototype, and I also, to lend some credence to what I'm talking about, I also developed a kit for my folks at jethanger.com. It was a twin 70mm EDF F-14, and I flew that for a number of years in the early 2000s. And so as a part of that, I did all the flight testing, determined all the control throws to get it dialed in. That airplane flew ailerons only. I've also flown the Freewing F-14 ailerons only as well, and it flew quite well in that configuration, although the maximum roll rate with the wings extended left a little bit to be desired. So the fact that they do not deactivate the ailerons with the wing swept can cause some weird coupling when trying to maneuver the airplane and roll. The reason for that is every time that trailing edge moves, the local AOA changes right at the leading edge of the tail, and so you don't get a linear response. The downwash is changing every single time you move the controls. Disabling the ailerons with the wing swept gets rid of that as an issue, and the airplane flies much more solid in the swept wing configuration. So what I've done here, in this case, I'm using the outboard ailerons to augment the control a little bit more in the roll with the wings extended, and then with the wings swept, the ailerons are disabled, and I will fly at ailerons only. With the wings swept, it's important to set a low rate on the ailerons. So with the wings out, you've got a high rate to your liking, and then with the wings swept, you have it go to the low rate, and that's the best way to set it up. Also, I've gone with a full span flap configuration as opposed to the split inboard flap and outboard ailerons. Purely for a scale geek like me, it was kind of a must-have. They got all the servos out there, they got all the surfaces moving. Got to have the full flap. I also flew the pre-production prototype with the full span flap, and it worked excellent. One thing to note though, it does require a pretty significant elevator mix to trim out the pitching moment as a result of the full span flap. You get a pretty large nose down moment, so you need about a 60% up elevator mix to trim that out. At the end of the day, with the Freewing F-14, you end up with an excellent value. You get a whole lot of airplane for the money, I can tell you that for sure. The engineering behind it is pretty well done. It also provides a great canvas should somebody want to do a full refinish, which I may do, on my twin 70mm F-14 that I flew back in the day. Man, that had a blue splinter paint scheme on it, and it looked sweet on that airplane. So I may come back and do a little refinish here, but we'll see. Alright, so let's take this girl out to the field, get a maiden on her, and then I will report back to you guys and tell you how it goes and give you a full flight review, including, as a part of that, I'll tell you all my control throws that I hone in on once I've got this airplane dialed in. Don't forget to subscribe to get that when it's posted. You can read more about the assembly of the F-14 on my blog, thercgeek.com. Got a full article there in addition to this video. If you want to learn how to refinish a foam warbird, you can check that out here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you at the field. Bogey on our 6. He's got tone. Wait. Hello?